Imagine a world where time itself is a precious toy, a plaything for emperors and kings. In ancient China, the Emperor Wanlai, a reclusive ruler of the Ming dynasty, lived in a vast, secretive palace known as the Forbidden City. This palace was a labyrinth of luxury, where the emperor was surrounded by his wives, concubines, and countless eunuchs. The outside world was kept at bay, and even his highest officials seldom saw his face. They had to send messages through the palace eunuchs, who acted as intermediaries between the emperor and his subjects. This was a world where the emperor's whims and desires were the law, and his isolation was a symbol of his power. In this world of mystery and seclusion, a group of foreign missionaries known as the Jesuits was about to change everything. These Jesuits, led by a man named Matteo Rixai, were on a mission to bring Christianity to China, but their journey was fraught with danger and uncertainty. As they approached the imperial capital of Peking, they were arrested, and their possessions were seized. The Chinese officials, who were deeply suspicious of these foreigners, were particularly horrified by the bleeding figure of Christ on the cross, which they saw as a symbol of black magic. For 6 months, the Jesuits were imprisoned, and they prepared themselves for the worst, even death, as they clung to their faith and their mission. But then, something unexpected happened. The emperor, a man known for his reclusiveness and his love for novelty, became interested in the gifts the Jesuits had brought from Europe. One of these gifts was a clock, a mechanical marvel that could ring on its own. The emperor, who had never seen anything like it, was fascinated. He summoned Rixai and his companions, demanding that they bring the clock to the palace. The Jesuits, who had been trained in the art of clockmaking, were given a daunting task: fix the clock and teach the palace eunuchs how to maintain it. Rixai, with his knowledge of clocks, worked tirelessly to repair the large and small timepieces. The large clock, which had stopped due to its weights reaching the bottom, was a particular challenge. But Rixai's expertise paid off, and the clock was soon running again. The emperor was so delighted with the clocks that he promoted the eunuchs who had learned how to maintain them and raised their wages. The smaller clock, which the emperor kept by his side, became a constant source of fascination for him. He even ordered a wooden tower to be built for the large clock, placing it in one of the inner courtyards where only he and a few select dignitaries could enter. The success of the clocks opened a new door for the Jesuits. They were no longer seen as mere foreigners, but as valuable experts in the arts and sciences. Over the next 9 years, Rixai and his companions became trusted advisors to the emperor. They used their knowledge of astronomy and the calendar to gain even more influence. The emperor, who was responsible for the accuracy of the calendar, was deeply concerned when the Jesuits pointed out that the Chinese lunar calendar was in error. The imperial astronomers had repeatedly failed to predict solar eclipses, which was a significant embarrassment for the emperor, as it cast doubt on his ability to govern according to the will of heaven. The turning point came on June 21, 1629, when a solar eclipse was expected. The imperial astronomers predicted it would occur at 10:30 and last for 2 hours. The Jesuits, using their advanced knowledge of astronomy, predicted it would start at 11:30 and last only 2 minutes. When the eclipse began exactly as the Jesuits had forecast, it was a decisive moment. The emperor, impressed by their accuracy, ordered the Jesuits to revise the calendar. This task, which the Jesuits undertook with the help of Chinese collaborators, marked the beginning of a new era of scientific exchange between the West and China. But the story of the clock in China goes back even further. 500 years before the Jesuits arrived, a Chinese scholar named Su Sung had built a remarkable astronomical clock known as the Heavenly Clockwork. This clock was a towering structure, over 30 feet high, with a complex mechanism that used water power to drive its movements. It was designed to be a calendar machine, not just a timepiece, and it was so advanced that it could predict the movements of the stars and planets. The clock featured mannequins that would emerge at specific times to strike bells and gongs, marking the hours and the changes in the day. It was a marvel of engineering and a symbol of the emperor's power to order the universe. However, when a new emperor came to power, the old calendar was declared faulty, and Su Sung's heavenly clockwork was dismantled. It was forgotten, and by the time the Jesuits arrived, the Chinese believed that the mechanical clock was a new invention from the West. This misunderstanding provided the Jesuits with an opportunity to showcase their knowledge and gain the emperor's trust. The success of the Jesuits in China was not limited to their scientific achievements. They also translated Western books on mathematics, optics, hydraulics, and music, and they began building telescopes for the Chinese. Their influence extended beyond the imperial court, and they were seen as cultural ambassadors, bridging the gap between East and West. The clock, which had started as a simple gift, became a symbol of the new relationship between China and the West. It was a toy that captivated the emperor and his court, but it also represented a new era of scientific and cultural exchange. The Jesuits used their knowledge of the clock and other scientific instruments to secure their place in the Chinese court, and they opened the door for further Western influence in China. However, the clock also became a source of entertainment for the Chinese emperors. The young Emperor Kangxi, who ruled in the 18th century, was particularly fond of clockwork toys. He received a soldier automaton that could wield a sword and a shield, and a clock that played music after each hour. The Jesuits, including Father Jean-Mathieu de Ventaven, even created a clockwork automaton that could write in Manchu, Mongolian, and Tibetan. The imperial palace soon became a treasure trove of clocks and automata, with over 4,000 pieces from the best masters in Paris and London. The demand for clockwork toys in China was so great that European merchants began to produce them specifically for the Chinese market. The quality of these toys varied, and some were designed more for show than for practical use. One merchant, in an attempt to sell cuckoo clocks, convinced the Chinese buyers that the cuckoo bird only sang at certain times of the year, and that their clocks would come to life when the season was right. This trickery, while effective, also highlights the complex and often unequal relationship between the West and China during this period. The story of the clock in China is a fascinating tale of cultural exchange, scientific innovation, and the power of diplomacy. It shows how a simple mechanical device can have far-reaching consequences, opening doors and changing the course of history. The clock, a symbol of the West's scientific prowess, became a bridge between two worlds, and its legacy continues to this day.